Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes. This day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're faded, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change.
Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? I put back up my poster. I think it's a little crooked. Come on, straighten out, straighten out. This was a gift from some friends, if you all remember, from the Libertarian Party of Wisconsin. All right. I'm not sure how long tonight's... Oh, I wanted to make sure my sound was good. Okay. How long tonight's episode's going to be, but this was something I had promised to do. Pardon me, I drank a bit of soda a bit too fast. I hate when that happens. And I've got some more interesting ones planned, but I do need to get back on the history train because we have a new LP news to do. So that will be coming up this week. I've got some other LNC related things, not too many because, you know, I'm enjoying a involuntary break, as it were. Yesterday, I had supposedly 2 activist events. I ended up only doing 1. And hey, James, Gentleman, Stephen, and Cowboy. I was supposed to do RCV tabling. Okay. So I went to the End the Damn Wars protest. That was fun. And smashed my phone by accident. And all the information on how to get to the next thing I was supposed to get to was all on my phone. Yeah, no bueno. So I couldn't go to the RCV thing. And I need a new phone. Now, luckily it was covered under insurance because y'all know I be a po bitch, so I wouldn't be able to buy a new phone if I needed a new one. But doing that, that's what I'm doing. I don't get a new phone till Tuesday. Traveling is coming up, need a new phone. All right, that's enough with those preliminaries. Let's, what was it? Oh, I am like so distracted. What am I looking for? Yes, my Patreon. Each month towards the beginning of the month, it seems like there is some natural attrition. People's financial situations change. It happens. I'm grateful for any amount of time that people can support the show, but as usual, did lose a few at the beginning of the month. This happens. No, not because I didn't like the show. I always keep in touch with people and, ask, one time I did have someone stop subscribing because they didn't like a vote I made on the LNC. And, oh well, too bad, so sad. You can't buy my votes, unlike what some people think. And it was like, okay, well, if you think that's what supporting this show is all about, then apparently you had a deep misunderstanding. But if you can help make up the shortfall, I would super, super appreciate it. I'm at a $10 a month shortfall. So anyone who can do that, I would love it. And then of course we do have our September goals, but it's nice to get back to where we started from. That's enough of that. Down below, I have not yet put other crypto, but there is now crypto support, Amazon wish list, any sort of thing. I super, super do appreciate. And I see we have one of my honored guests who actually has he has his theme song, so we do need to play this for Doc Sexy.
Chicka wow wow.
Okay. Yeah, Otto, Libertarians do think everyone has a price. Before we get to the Judicial Committee stuff, and as we get to it, I don't know what you guys want to know, so I'll go over the broad stuff, but I'd like to answer questions. But I've just been informed, and again, some of my facts may not be exactly in a row, because I heard this from a friend, and let's just say it's developing liberty, right? Apparently, and now I can comment on state affiliates because I'm in this limbo where I'm the secretary in exile and I'm allowed to comment on affiliates now. Apparently, there's going to be some kind of excommunication hearing tomorrow at the Libertarian Party of Massachusetts because they had, you know how there's wrong think? Apparently, they had wrong like. They liked the wrong tweets. This party is going down the shitter. Okay? It is live, Michael. I see your comments, so now you know. Yeah, this party's going down the shitter. We are in a fight for the soul of this party. For those of you who know my personal sympathies, I am center left, okay? I have a bit of SJW in me. It comes with the pink hair. I think it seeps in through the pink hair. However, my personal preferences have nothing to do with the party. I do not impose them upon the party. And this party is turning fucking woke, and it is killing us. We need to de-woke this party. I would be saying the same thing if we were infested with right think. Like, I don't mean right think is incorrect. A right wing, okay? This is not a left-wing party. It's not a right-wing party, but that doesn't happen to be our problem right now. We're going the way of the ACLU, and I'm not going to have it. I am not going to have it. I will fight for the soul of this party, and I hope everyone else here will too. This is just absolutely ridiculous that they're having an excommunication hearing, if my information is correct. But it's from a very trusted friend, so I believe it is. I'm going to do a whole show on the implications of what happened with me when it comes to the nap. Actually, I think that might even be tomorrow, because there is a different subject I'm covering and it ties in. But this shit needs to stop. And I'm not going to stop calling it out. I'll get into the history of me calling this out when we do the show specifically on that. I just felt like ranting for a little bit, okay? And before we did the Judicial Committee thing, and also give some time for audience to build and let you guys think of maybe questions you have to have. Oh, also needed to introduce more of my shameless grifting. If you would like to give me a super chat, it would be greatly appreciated. It does not give you any kind of special preference, however. I'm not that big of a YouTuber. I hope, listen, I would love to be a big YouTuber, but I hope I'm never so big that the only way you can get my attention is by paying for it. That is not who I am. It will never be who I am. It's just, if you like what I'm doing, I will thank you. but that's about it. Everyone is equal here. The Poe to the not Poe. And no matter what tweets you like. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I do not know what's going on with this party. It's not the party I joined. Though I have to say, when I joined, it was far too right-wing. And I didn't like that too much either. But we swung the other direction. Okay, let's get into the Judicial Committee thing. Okay. I need some soda. Otto, I think I actually, no, Otto, I'd like to put this up here. Because a lot of people say I gain energy from the fight. I do have a healthy dose of righteous indignation. No, and I will not be discouraged or emotionally drained by anyone's scummy tactics. Because when I believe my cause is right, it does give me energy. But what gives me even more energy, and I'm not sponsored, is Diet Mountain Dew. Oh, hi there, Rhett. But yeah, I am outraged at what is going on in this party. Now, for the Judicial Committee. First of all, as you know, I do have some parliamentary training. I'm not a registered parliamentarian. I am studying to be a registered parliamentarian. And it's taking a long time because the way they grade is just absolutely ridiculous, and they don't unlock the... Like, you have to sometimes wait a month between sections or more because they don't unlock the next section until they grade the one you... It's ridiculous. Their system is absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, the wheels of parliamentary law move slow. However, most of my experience is with the LP. Well, 99.9%. So I don't know what other parliamentarily organized societies do. I'm used to the concept of a judicial committee because we have that nationally. I do not know how common, and maybe if JJ shows up or anyone else who has experience with other parliamentary organizations could let us know how common it is to have a judicial committee in other organizations. I looked it up in Roberts. The word judicial committee does not appear anywhere. But the way to think of it is kind of like the Court of Appeals. But I also have learned that, you know, your average everyday person doesn't even understand how an appeals court works either. I understand that because I am a 2-decade plus long paralegal. Even though I don't work in criminal law, there is appeals in civil law as well, but most people are familiar with it in criminal law, and that will be the more direct parallel to what we're doing here. But most people don't understand how it works. So let me just give you just a little bit of a crash course. This will be very, very simplistic. So if any of you are lawyers, don't correct me. This is just basic, okay? If you're getting tried for a crime and you're going through the trial court level where you have the burden of proof is upon the state to prove you guilty. It's not upon yourself to prove yourself innocent. And of course, nobody's proven innocent. You're either guilty, not guilty type thing. But there's a presumption of innocence. There can be mistakes made during the process. You cannot appeal just to have, you don't appeal to like get a second bite at the apple at your whole case. There has to be appealable errors made during the process. There has to be something fundamentally wrong in the process, and you have to have preserved your right to appeal into in order for it to be heard by the appellate court. If you didn't preserve your record on appeal, it doesn't get heard by the appellate court. So the appellate court doesn't get your whole case. They only get the bits and pieces that you think mistakes were made in. Hopefully for you, if you were found guilty, mistakes that will either give you a new trial or render you not guilty, that sort of thing. So you don't bring your whole case into the appellate court. So for instance, if you were in a criminal trial, you were convicted, let's say evidence was admitted improperly, but everything else was done right, you would then just appeal the issue of the evidence being heard, the evidence being admitted improperly. And the appellate court could say, yes, it was, but that didn't swing the verdict to make you be found guilty. You probably would have been found guilty anyway, and nothing happens. Okay? Now, if anyone has any questions, please let me know. But you understand, so your entire case didn't go, only that bit of error. It's somewhat similar in this kind of situation we find ourselves here, where I was suspended by the National Committee for, the reasons I believe and the reasons they believe, which are wrong. This is my show, I could say that. Now, I can take my whole case to the Judicial Committee if I think the whole damn thing was wrong, which I do. I'm pretty much am taking my whole case. But I can't just say, blah, try it again. I have to say, blah, here were the problems, okay? Because the Judicial Committee is an appellate body, just like in criminal case where you appeal. In an appellate body, the burden of proof is shifted. When you're at a trial court level, you have the presumption of innocence. You only get to an appellate body if you lost. And you then are presumed you're presumed guilty. And the burden of proof shifts. You have to prove yourself not guilty, or you have to prove that there was an error. The presumption isn't that there was an error. Okay. It's very similar here. So I never got a trial. So I've been completely screwed out of the presumption of innocence. In fact, if you were watching this LNC meeting, you will know that so many people, before they even heard me speak, said they were voting to suspend me. Can you imagine if you were in a criminal court and jurors, before they even heard your defense counsel speak, said guilty? Would that seem fair to you? Would that seem just? Would that seem libertarian? Not that the LNC cares much about that. And when I say the LNC, I mean the 11 members that voted to suspend me, not the ones who were absent, who would have voted no or abstain, or the ones that were there that voted no or abstain, okay? I use the LNC as a collective. I do not mean to implicate every single person, but I do mean to implicate those 11. And those are 2/3. So it's a lot. It's a lot. So I did not have the presumption of innocence. That was so gross that any libertarian could sit there and do that. I question their understanding of libertarianism. Doesn't mean I don't think they're a libertarian. I have questions, though. That was fucked up. Be that as it may. Just saying that to prove that I never really got a trial court level. I never had the presumption of innocence, and shame on the Libertarian National Committee. And they are all so fucking proud of themselves. Listen, I do not normally tell people to go and I usually tell people, leave other people alone. I am not telling you to go harass these people. That's gross. I am not telling you to go above and beyond. But I am telling you that you should confront them with this, because it's gross and they are not fit representatives on the national level of the Libertarian Party. Sorry, they're not. And they had the nerve to judge me not because I said mean words. At least I give people due process. But let's go now to what the LNC, or Libertarian Party, Judicial Committee does. And when I said, excuse me, no, Rochelle, I did not. Unlike Laura Epke and Crowd, I don't look at content I don't think I will like. But if you want to summarize it for me here, that's fine. I actually have a show on Ms. Hogarth coming up, so it might be helpful, I don't tend to read Susan's posts. But I do think it's funny that they find themselves very free to post about me, because I thought that was wrong. And I got read the Riot Act once for posting about a member rather than another LNC member, and said LNC members should never punch down. And talking about members is punching down. I'm just a normal member right now. So if Susan said something about me, she should be suspended by her own rules. But then again, she isn't particularly consistent. If you're referring to the post where she was affirming a redefinition of the NAP, I have seen that one. But if she's posted since the 6th about me, no, I have not. I blocked her. I don't look at content I don't think I'll like. I know how to change the channel. Oh, yeah, by the way, everyone, it's not me on Twitter who is Hall Monitor Hogarth. I do think that that account is freaking hilarious, but it's not me, anyone who's wondering. But yeah, follow that account. I think it's at Monitor Hogarth. Oh, so slander is aggression is not the same as words or violence. Well, they did say words or violence, but we'll get onto that. And slander is not aggression either. And I haven't slandered them. Opinions, we'll get into this in another show. Okay. Interesting. So I'm glad. Maybe you could screenshot and send that to me because I do have a show on Susan coming up. Saying an opinion that is grounded in fact, even if it's mistaken, is not aggression. I believe that Biden is suffering from dementia. What if that isn't correct? Am I committing aggression against Biden? And I'm using a public figure for a reason, because there is a different standard for public figures. No, because I have very good reason for believing that Biden is suffering from dementia, but I could be wrong. I have never slandered another LNC member. However, Richard Longstreth just slandered me, and I proved it with receipts. I expect Susan will be moving to suspend Richard tonight. No, I don't actually expect that. But I've never slandered Susan, but Susan has slandered me. And slander is not aggression. It's simply not. It might be shitty, but it's not aggression. I thought she was a radical. Does she believe in libel laws? I wonder. If slander is aggression, you can combat it with violence. Does Susan think she can shoot me to shut me up? Interesting. That's not very radical, Ms. Hogarth. And you have yet... Oh, here's... In that body of evidence, by the way, they didn't produce one thing that they said was slander. Very, very funny. And if slander is aggression, and Susan's saying I slandered LNC members and I didn't, then she's slandering me. There's no brakes on this thing, is there? No brakes on this thing. And is Susan saying I should be thrown out of the party? Because if you violate the membership oath, even though we don't nationally have a method for expulsion, some state parties do. And if we did nationally, it would certainly be for violating the membership pledge. So when Susan said, I'm crazy, which she said in those words, should she be thrown out of the party? I think she is just really uncomfortable. Thank you. With her, Rochelle, with her own words. But that will be part of my show. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. Because I do have a whole show on Ms. Hogarth. Because she's one of the worst, absolute worst people on the LNC. Just absolute worst. Okay, let's continue now, though, with the Judicial Committee. Oh, and that's an opinion. What if Susan objectively isn't one of the absolute worst people on the LNC? Did I just slander her? Or did I just say my opinion? Okay. Continuing, let me pull up the bylaws here because we need to go through this. Let me, whoops. Okay. Share my screen. Now you're just seeing darkness, darkness. Be my pillow. Okay. Yeah, Sophia, you're kind of in the middle of a discussion, but it's kind of an intro to a show that I'm going to be doing. I want to, hold on one second, because I want my camera here. Whoop, not that one, but hi everyone. You can see my mess. What's that big, oh, this is this cable. I need to fix that. But yeah, this is another angle. I always like showing everyone another angle. And Daniel 3 Biblical Anarchy, you are so very, very generous. Thank you so very much. What am I doing? Don't want to do that, but I want to switch my other camera. I'm still learning this. Give me a second. Okay, there's that. And burr, 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 right here. Here we go. Yay! Okay. Oh boy. Yeah, and everyone go subscribe to Daniel's channel. I'm going to be on Tuesday, and you're not going to want to miss that. His channel is Daniel 3 Biblical Anarchy. Oh, and speaking of subscribing, and here, yay! Okay, I fixed it. Speaking of subscribing, I am 90 people away from 3,000, I think. That would be a nice milestone for me. So if you would please subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell, because with the way social media keeps banning me for the last one, I probably earned, okay? The other ones I definitely did not, but it put me on a 30-day ban from the ones I did not. Yeah, I don't always get to publicize my shows, which is how most of you know I'm going live. So please hit the subscription bell, and allegedly, I think then, you know, whatchamacallit, YouTube will give you notification. Oh yes, and please like the stream, because there's always two. I suspect one of them might be Ms. Hogarth. Oh, did I just slander her because it's my guess that she's one of the ones who always downvotes my stream? I don't know that she does that, but I know she watches, so I don't think it's unreasonable to think she's one of them. See how this just really, really gets messy? And if you're in a political debate, is it slander when you don't think some people from past experience or operate in good faith? So you're, never mind. We're going to just get into this in another one. She's really, really digging a hole. I wanted to start with the top here of the bylaws because I wanted to show you, I like to teach you where you can find things. It's kind of like the don't give a man a fish, teach a man to fish. Okay, up at the top here, you can see what's in the bylaws are the bylaws, convention special rules, which are attached to the bylaws, and also Judicial Committee Rules of Appellate Procedure. And you notice it is appellate procedure. These are adopted by the Judicial Committee. These are not adopted by the delegates. I have a problem with that. I think the Rules of Appellate Procedure should be permanent, should be in our bylaws, and should be adopted by the delegates. However, that's not the procedure that we have. So I want to show you that for 1 second. So we're going to look up the word judicial, because I want to show first. Okay, that's about disaffiliating. This is about executing people like me, about executing at-larges. Okay, the Judicial Committee, it's right here. Okay, let's see if we can make this one. I don't think I can make this bigger here. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's read about the Judicial Committee, which is in Article 8 of the bylaws. The Judicial Committee shall be composed of 7 party members elected at each regular non-presidential convention. If you wonder what the word regular there is, this really needs to be removed in part of a cleanup of the bylaws. We used to have special conventions in which business was not done at. So the bylaws distinguish between special and regular, but special has since been deleted. So this weird word regular just kind of remains there, and it doesn't make sense anymore. And any 5 members shall constitute a quorum. No member of the National Committee may be a member of the Judicial Committee. It's because the two must remain separate. The members of the Judicial Committee shall select the chair of the Judicial Committee. The Judicial Committee, and by the way, yeah, I look forward to speaking with you too, Jacob. We're going to, in that show for Susan, we are going to go through that folder of evidence to see what could possibly be considered slandered. I just love goring these people's oxes. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, but because they harmed me so badly. Oh, is that aggression, the way they harmed me? They actually did cause emotional damage. Now, I don't believe that's aggression. My state of emotions are my own business, but by Susan's standard, they really committed aggression against me. All right, continuing. The members of the Judicial Committee shall select the chair of the Judicial Committee, and I think that's right. The Judicial Committee shall take office immediately upon the close of the regular non-presidential convention at which elected, and shall serve until the final adjournment of the next regular non-presidential convention. They used to only have 2-year terms. Now they have 4-year terms. The reason being is that at presidential conventions, you tend to have people there who aren't as committed to the party because they are there for the beauty pageant. It's the party hardcores that come to the non-presidential conventions, and those are who we decided that we wanted electing our Judicial Committee. All Judicial Committee members shall have been party members at least 4 years at the time of their selection. So these again are party stalwarts. And by the way, I keep because my mind turns, I think also during that show, we will go through Walter Block's argument as to why slander is not aggression because you don't own your reputation. Anyway, I thought all radicals thought that. I'm going to need to look at the Radical Caucus platform because I think they deny that slander. They've changed it since I've been a member. The remaining members of the Judicial Committee shall appoint new members if vacancies occur. Such appointees to serve until the final adjournment of the next, going up here, non-regular presidential convention. Should all Judicial Committee positions be vacant, an intervening convention may fill such vacancies. So that means if the whole Judicial Committee goes kaput, we can fill the vacancies at a presidential convention. The subject matter jurisdiction. Now here's where things get really important because the Judicial Committee is very limited. The subject matter jurisdiction of the Judicial Committee is limited to consideration of only those matters expressly identified as follows. Suspension of affiliate parties. We use the word suspension really weird here. I don't know why. What they're talking about is disaffiliation. However, because they can appeal, if a affiliate party is disaffiliated, it's kind of like a suspension of an officer. There's this limbo period where they can appeal to the Judicial Committee. Suspension of officers, that's me. Suspension of national committee members at large, that's other LNC members because regionals can only be removed by their region and they have no rights of appeal. D, voiding of national committee decisions. This is something you guys don't know very well, but you can challenge any decision made by the national committee. It's a little difficult, but you do have that right. E, challenges to platform planks that has to be done at a convention. Challenges to resolutions. And suspension of presidential and vice presidential candidates. Okay, right here is what I was talking about with the rules. Within 90 days following the regular convention at which elected, it's funny that they don't say non-presidential. We forgot to put that in there. The Judicial Committee shall establish rules of appellate procedure to govern its consideration of matters within the scope of its jurisdiction. The existing rules shall remain in effect until and unless the Judicial Committee submits new proposed rules to the National Committee for approval, which approval shall be deemed given unless denied by a 2/3 vote of the National Committee within 60 days of submission. A copy of the current rules of appellate procedure shall be maintained by the Secretary at the party headquarters and shall be available to any member at cost. I don't know why it still says that because it's all electronic, but I guess if somebody wants me to mail that to them. Notice it doesn't say it has to be appended to the bylaws. I think Alicia Matson started that practice and I continued it. The National Committee can disapprove the rules of appellate procedure. I just think that's the fox guarding the hen house. And then the Judicial Committee setting their own rules, to me, is crazy. This should all be within the purview of the delegates, and these rules should be constant from term to term. They shouldn't change from term to term. I don't like that at all. Justin, what do you mean consider framing your case for the jury? And Rita, I don't know. Do you mean that ultimately my judges are delegates? I'm not sure what you mean by that, but I'd love to hear. Okay, let's now make this small again so we can go back out. So where we want to go now is to the rules of appellate procedure, because that is going to tell us what we need to know. They are at the very end of the bylaws. So let's go there. I think it is right here. No, that is convention rules. Convention rules. Convention rules, I think that's right. No. Next page, maybe? Yeah, right here. Judicial rules of appellate procedure. Okay, it's only 2 pages. And most of these are not going to be relevant to what you guys are interested in, but we'll go through them anyway. The thing that governs almost everything, well, actually, we need to go back a second. I forgot. There's some other rules that are pertinent. I think it's Article 7 we need to go back to. Article 6, Article 7, where it talks about suspension of officers. Yeah, right here. The National Committee. Where is it? I lost it. Article 7. Right. No. What'd I do? I'm such an idiot. Hold on. Okay. Right here. No, that's 6. 7. Okay, it starts here. The National Committee. No, that's at large. Where's the suspension of officers? Right there. Okay. Article 6, Section 7, which is this section right here. But we want to start reading where it talks about the Judicial Committee, which is right here. Okay. The suspended officer, me, may challenge the suspension by an appeal in writing to the Judicial Committee within 7 days of receipt of the notice of suspension. The LNC probably didn't read this, never sent me a notice of suspension, so I sent myself a notice of suspension, just to be a wise ass. And I sent it in Comic Sans font. If you guys haven't seen it, it is quite funny. My advisors would not let me put some tacky clip art on it. I received the notice of suspension from me on Thursday. Doesn't matter. I know technically they're supposed to send me a notice of suspension. I think I received notice. I was there. Whatever. I think, whatever. Doesn't matter. I filed timely no matter what date you're looking at. Failure to appeal within 7 days shall confirm the suspension and bar any later challenge or appeal. I filed. It's fine. I got, it was confirmed receipt by the chair of the Judicial Committee. The Judicial Committee shall set a date for hearing the appeal between 20 and 40 days of receipt of the appeal. Okay, so I sent the appeal on Friday. Between 20 and 40 days from Friday, and I didn't calculate out those days yet. So Friday was what, the 10th? So between the end of this month and about October 20th, they shall set a date for hearing the appeal. I don't understand this sentence, though, to be honest with you. Do you? Does that mean they have to set the date between those times, but the hearing can be any time after that? Or does that mean that they have to have the hearing between that time? That's very confusing to me. I'd love to know how you guys interpret that. I think everyone, and clip art is fucking aggressive, man. I would have just been aggressing the hell out of that LNC. I had like little horse heads and shit, and find a horse head in your bed. No, I had some really good, I wanted to put Clippy on there, from Microsoft. Like I was totally gonna resurrect Clippy. Okay, I can tell you first read how I interpret this. I interpret this as the hearing has to take place. Like any day now, I expect to receive a hearing date. And that hearing date has to take place between 20 and 40 days. That's the way I understand that, but there's multiple ways to read that. Love to know your opinion. JJ, if you're out there, how do you read this? And shall notify all interested persons, which person shall have the right to appear and present evidence and arguments. It's very interesting as to who's interested. I mean, that term also, I think it should be involved or something. I mean, everyone's interested. It's just weird wording to me. At the hearing, the burden of persuasion shall rest on the appellant. I am the appellant. The LNC is the appellee. I am also the petitioner, and the LNC would be the respondent. Okay, want to get our terminology correct. The Judicial Committee shall either affirm the National Committee's suspension of the officer or order the officer's reinstatement within 30 days of the hearing. So let's say there's a hearing date 40 days out, the maximum, allegedly, depending on how you read that. Then the maximum for their decision would be another 30 days. We'd be looking at mid-November, but it could be earlier. Now, this next sentence sucks and needs to go. Failure of the Judicial Committee to rule within 30 days shall constitute an affirmation of the National Committee's suspension of the officer. That should be opposite. That is gross, but only the delegates can change that. At such time as the suspension is final, meaning if the Judicial Committee either fails to rule or affirms, then the office in question shall be deemed vacant. The office in question right now is not vacant. I don't really know what I am right now, which is why I joke and call myself a secretary in exile. I do not believe they had the right to remove my picture from the website. The seat is not vacant. Of course, the LNC chair, the current one, who has ruled against me in every single thing I've ever said, I could say the sky is blue, and I swear she would argue with me, even though I love Whitney as a person. She's adorable. I'm not happy with her performance as LNC chair, but maybe she just needs to grow into the role. I know people are yelling at me right now saying I give her too much credit. It's because I like her. She's a friend of mine. And I just can't bring myself to drag her as much as I drag other people who I don't think are good faith actors. Oh, did I just, what's the opposite of aggression? Like, if I shouldn't be giving Whitney credit, but I just gave her credit, did I just like, there has to be a word for that, right? Okay. All right, so the office is not vacant. We don't know what the fuck's going on right now. So that's the first part. So there's some timing for you. That's specific to a suspended officer. Now note, under 7, there's a totally separate clause for suspending a member at large. Our bylaws treat a suspension of an officer in a different section than at large. They don't treat them similarly. That is important. Yeah, generosity. I committed an act of generosity if I'm incorrect. Okay, now back to the rules of appellate procedure. Okay, this thing here was the first thing I had to really pay attention to. Okay? The Judicial Committee shall take action only when its chair receives a written request for a ruling on a matter identified in the party's bylaws as being within the committee's jurisdiction. They received such a request from me. Such petition shall identify A, the basis for the subject matter jurisdiction of the committee. In my case, it is suspension of an officer. B, the ruling requested, reinstatement of myself. C, the veritable identity of the person or persons, affiliate, or party committee petitioning for the requested ruling, who are the petitioners, that is me. And D, the identity by individual name of any person, affiliate, or party committee that would be directly affected by the requested ruling. I identified the Libertarian National Committee and Joe Bishop Henchman because he was named in, he's referred to in my crimes. Such a person, affiliate, or committee directly affected by the requested ruling, together with any other person, affiliate, or committee identified by the Judicial Committee members as likely to be so affected, so if I didn't include everyone they think should be included, they could add them, will be considered a prospective respondent. So Joe Bishop Henchman can respond because I'm accused of wronging him and causing him to resign. The petitions should be supported by such written and other evidence as the petitioners believe supports the grant of the ruling requested. Okay, that means that I, with my petition, had to have my evidence with the petition. That's a lot of work to do in 7 days if you're wondering why I was so busy. I did. There were a bunch of appendices. Did I miss a super chat? If I missed one, I'm super sorry. Let me scroll up. I don't think I did. Oh, Daniel 3. Oh, you're talking about, okay. Jacobs. Okay, gotcha. Okay, perfect. So I did, there were, I think, A through M, maybe, appendices or exhibits. And then I also had additional items in a supplemental exhibit list. Okay. So I've already took care of this. This has been fulfilled. They aren't, number 2 is only if they're called into action during a national convention. That's not the case here. All right, so 3. When such petition is received at any other time other than national convention, okay, the chair, this is the Judicial Committee chair, not the party chair. I don't even know if the party chair's seen my petition yet. I sent it to the Judicial Committee chair, and all I sent to the LNC was a notice of filing appeal. The chair shall promptly forward the petition to the other Judicial Committee, that's Judicial Committee members, by electronic mail. Okay, I'm assuming Mary Ruart, who is Judicial Committee chair, has done this. Within 7 days following receipt of such petitions, or promptly if the request is, it's not during a convention, the committee chair shall provide a copy of the petitions to each prospective respondent along with any supporting material the chair has been sent, and notice that if the prospective respondents desire to respond to the petition, the prospective respondents must do so in writing within 7 days or promptly if the request, whatever, it wasn't in a convention. Now, so that means within 7 days, the Judicial Committee chair will have to send my petition out to each member of the National Committee. Now, I do not believe individual members of the National Committee can provide responses. Perhaps they can. That would kind of be a dog pile. I think because they all voted for the motion, that it would have to be a collective response. And I think it would have to be voted on by the LNC if it's considered the response of the LNC. I don't really know what's going to happen here. I don't have experience with this. It would be very difficult for me to have to respond individually to 11 people, plus possibly Joe Bishop Henchman and anyone else the Judicial Committee identifies. But they all voted for the same motion. They can't have alternative facts, so I think they'll probably join together, but if it's 11 different responses, I get to cross-examine them. And I look fucking forward to it, Susan Hogarth. Please respond. I want to cross-examine you. You never answer my questions. Richard Longstreth, you are going to be called as a witness by me because I want to know all about this year-long plot to remove me. And I'm sure all the membership really wants to know about this as well. Don't you? That ever since you elected me, that there was a certain group of people. Don't you want to know the identities of these people that sought to subvert your will since the day I was elected? Listen, even if I don't win my appeal, delegates are going to win because they're going to know who are the really really bad actors on the LNC that decided that you don't get to elect a secretary. They do. All right. Fair warning. Consider your words carefully when you respond to me. Don't slander. You might be committing aggression. Okay, continuing. The chair shall promptly forward a copy of any responses received to each of the other. Okay, this is if they get responses. JJ, I have were you here earlier? Because I have a question for you. We'll go back to the question because I'm super confused about something. So 5 is just saying any response. A couple of these are just saying that the Judicial Committee chair needs to share everything she gets with the rest of the committee, which I don't even think needs to be said, but okay. 6, a copy of the petition and any responses shall be made available electronically to any sustaining member upon request. The committee may, by a majority vote, redact portions of the petitions and responses so made available. So you guys here who have asked me for my petition, I told you I sent it to the Judicial Committee. I am not publicizing it. You can write the Judicial Committee and get a copy of it if you're a sustaining member of the National Party. If you're not, you can't. I'm not distributing it or talking about it until after this is all handled. I mean, I might talk about it like in broad strokes. I'm not going to pull it up on the screen and go through it. I'm just not doing that. I don't think that's super appropriate. Okay. Up here. When such petition and responses are received at any time other than during a national convention, a committee member shall review all material they are sent within 7 days. So, like all these time frames, the JC chair had to send what I sent to all the committee members within 7 days, and then they have to review it within 7 days and then tell the chair that they've looked at it. Okay. Now, I have a question for you, JJ, though. You say, any response to the LNC must be approved by the LNC. I agree. Can the individual LNC members, though, respond individually? I think they can. I don't think that's wise. But can't they respond individually? And then am I, like, having to fight against, like, 11 responses? And what if the responses are contradictory? I actually think that would be in my favor if they're contradictory. Because, you know, A is A type thing, quoting Ayn Rand. Okay, in your opinion, no, because the National Committee suspended me, not an individual member. Okay, now I think I agree. But Joe Bishop Henchman could individually respond, perhaps, right? I don't think he will, but he could. I think the party would love to hear from him. All right, so the next thing I think we have to worry about is right here. But before we go there, I want to ask JJ the question. I want to go back up to these time frames in Article 6 because I think it's susceptible of several interpretations, and I'm wondering what you think it is. Okay, right here, JJ. What does this mean? The Judicial Committee shall set a date for hearing between 20 and 40 days of receipt of the appeal. Does that mean they have to come up with a date between... Okay, how do I word this? Does that mean the actual hearing has to be between 20 and 40 days? Or only that they have to decide on the date for a hearing between 20 and 40 days? I think that's susceptible to two interpretations. And I'm wondering what your interpretation is. My first read is that the hearing has to take place between 20 and 40 days. But I don't think the other interpretation is unreasonable. If you could let me know what you think, I'd appreciate it. And then could it be like anytime? Like they say, oh, we're going to set it 6 months out. Like, I don't know. That really confuses me. I suppose if there's something they really didn't want to hear, they could set the date for a year from now. But okay, I agree. JJ says the hearing would have to take place. But what's the flaw in the other reading? Like, is the other reading a possible reading, or would that reading render other parts of the bylaws absurd? You know, in the principles of interpretation type thing. Okay. Anyway, go back here. The next thing we have to worry about, it's right here. Number 8. Okay, let's go read that. After the time period for responses has passed, and the time period is pretty quick. The time period for, you have a good night, Benjamin. The time period for responses is 7 days after they receive my petition, which makes it difficult if the LNC has to approve a response, because an email ballot is 7 days. Notice for an electronic meeting is 5 days, which has to be specifically noticed. So it almost is like they have 2 days to prepare a response. That makes it kind of tough. Cry me a river, I don't care. The executive committee can't, because our executive committee, well, of course they could amend the policy manual to change that, but then the same things, whatever. I don't care. I hope it's tough on them. I'm just curious. After the time period for responses has passed, so it's the 7 days. So the JC chair has to send my petition to the respondents within 7 days. And then they have 7 days to respond. So within 2 weeks of Friday, I should have their responses. If I'm figuring this out right, there's so many time frames in here. And the chair, so after the time period responses has passed, so 2 weeks, and the chair has been advised by at least 2 other committee members that they've reviewed the petition and responses, they're required to review it within 7 days. So I don't think the chair should have to wait till they've been advised. Anyway, they've made these rules just way too complicated to me. He or she shall set a time for a meeting of the committee. Now, here's JJ. There's a conflict here. Okay, I know that these rules, if they conflict with the bylaws rule over them. Because here it says they'll set a time for a meeting of the committee, where the bylaws says it'll be a hearing. There's a difference between a meeting and a hearing. But since the bylaws say hearing, I'm going to substitute hearing in here, because that's what it has to be. I don't think the JC is a control strategy. I think they just copied the rules that have been used for years and years, because I don't think these have changed very much. The only thing that changed is adding electronic, because it used to all be in person or by mail. Okay. So set a time, I'm going to say, for a hearing of the committee to decide the matter at hand and notify the committee in writing of same. Yeah, hearing happens at a meeting, but a meeting doesn't have to have a hearing, is what I'm saying, if that makes sense. Unless all of the committee members request a physical gathering, they will not. The meeting, I wish they would. I would rather have a physical gathering. The meeting shall take place by telephone conference or video. I'm sure they will be video. Any meeting shall be open to sustaining members. So if you are not a national member, I'm going to use this to recruit the fuck out of people. You guys who are this is going to be a membership recruitment for me. You guys who are interested in this, if you are not a national member, you cannot come. If you're just a state party member, you cannot come. I don't think that's right, because you do not have to be a national sustaining member to vote for me at convention. And I think anyone who is eligible for convention has an interest in the officers. I think this is shitty, but it is what it is. Okay? Because you only have to be a state party member to be a delegate at convention, not a national sustaining member. However, what's great, though, about it, okay, is that all sustaining members have signed the pledge. Not all state members have. So there'd be all people who have definitely an interest in hearing about whether they're committing aggression through words. Who may, and by the way, I don't want to spill the beans here, but there was a very famous case, maybe 4 years ago, which if any time words were going to be aggression, they would have been, and Susan argued that they were not. And I even struggled with this one. We'll go over this in the show I'm doing about Susan. Where'd I go? I lost my spot. Oh, any meeting shall be open to all sustaining members who may observe but not participate in the proceedings. I interpret that to mean, well, obviously you can't participate. 2/3 vote, deliberate in open session. This I do not like. It should be opposite, that it should take a 2/3 vote to go into executive session. However, this is an anti-transparency thing here, I think. I do not want their deliberations in executive session. I think on that ground, you could write them. I don't believe you could write them about the merits of my case, but I do believe you can lobby the JC appropriately that you want this out in the open. I want it out in the open. We should have put that in the petition, JJ, requesting that everything be in open session. However, any oral argument shall be in open session, and any decision shall be rendered in writing, which written decisions shall be public. And those will be public to anybody. I expect they'll be published on LPedia. The committee may, in its discretion, offer to the petitioner and respondent, potentially S, petitioners and respondents, an equal opportunity to make their arguments orally via a telephone conference, video conference, or physical meeting. I do not understand what this means. I don't know what this means. Like this, what the fuck does this mean? And I don't like this other sentence either. Committee members who are unable to participate in the meeting shall retain the right to vote by electronic mail or by phone. If they were not there, they should not get to vote. That's just like the LNC. I do not like this sentence. JJ, doesn't this violate Roberts? Doesn't it have to be in the bylaws in order to vote if you weren't at the meeting? Am I imagining that, JJ? I think that last sentence might not be valid. I think that has to actually be in the bylaws and not in a special rule of order. Am I wrong? What am I thinking of? Proxy? Is that what I'm thinking of? I could be confusing this with proxy voting. I don't like it, but I think I'm confusing it with proxy voting. Okay. 9. But don't you think that's super shitty? Because the dynamic of being at the meeting, like, I don't know. Okay. When the committee reaches a decision, the chair shall notify the petitioners who requested the ruling, any respondents to the petition, the national chair and the national secretary. Who's the national secretary? It's in limbo. Is it me? Are they going to tell me? I don't know what that means. Okay, never mind. Preliminary notification may be made orally, either in person or by telephone. I don't think that needs to be there. Official notification shall be made in writing as soon as all participating committee members have voted on the matter in question, or 10 days after the meeting if all members have not voted. That's so complicated. Okay. Petitions, responses, supporting materials, and notifications required to be provided in writing in connection with any proceeding may be delivered personally or by United States Mail, private delivery service, fax, or electronic mail. And they're missing an Oxford. They're missing a comma. It's really bothering me. There needs to be a comma after fax. Okay. So there is the overly complicated rules of appellate procedure, which I think could have been done in 5 instead of 10. That's me. I'm confused on some of them, but I think we all generally got the idea. So let me go back to full screen here. 1 second. Here. All right. So, are there any questions, class? Are there any? I hopefully you understand a little bit better. Now, I've never been involved. We're going to pull up something else. I've never been involved in a national judicial committee proceeding. However, I have been involved in a judicial committee proceeding with the Libertarian Party of California. Had nothing to do with suspensions or anything like that. What it had to do with is I am a member of the Libertarian, or I was. They've now since disallowed, thank God, out-of-state members. But I was a member at the time of LPCA. And they, in my view, illegitimately deleted their entire platform in contravention of their rules, bylaws, whatever. I forgot whether it was in a special rules for the bylaws. I wasn't actually one of the petitioners, but I assisted them. I could have been one of the petitioners. I am a member of LPCA, but I felt that the petitioners actually had to be residents of CA. I told them I'd help them, but I felt weird putting my name on it. I can tell you some super sleuths thought they were really figuring something out by the Word document I sent going into properties and seeing that I authored it. It's like I didn't try to disguise that I authored it. I used language in there that was really obvious to anyone who knows my style that it was me. Like, I didn't hide that I wrote the petition. Or did I write the petition? Or did I write some of the arguments? I don't remember. We're going to pull this up so just so you can get some ideas, because we're not pulling up my petition here. So I want to be able to show you a settled case. There was a question that was in chat before I got here, and it was, do future judicial committees have to follow precedent of prior ones? No. It's persuasive. It's not binding. It's only binding if the delegates put it into the bylaws, or maybe even like a resolution. But I mean, there has to be an action of the delegates to make it binding. But it is persuasive. So give me 1 second, because I need to pull up LPedia to try to find where I stuck those California. Now, California Judicial Committee, they get a workout. They got called into session again this time about invalidating some elections. And they did invalidate the elections. I didn't follow it. It was very, very internally political to California, and I didn't feel it was my business. And I wasn't a member at that time because they disallowed out-of-state members. And when I was secretary, I don't know what I am right now. JJ, what's your opinion of what I am right now? I'm just curious. I don't interfere in the autonomy of affiliates that I'm not a member of. Okay. Let me pull this up. Okay, this is LPedia we're looking at now, and I want to put my little camera back up. Here we go. I know it covers some of the screen. Let me make myself itty-bitty. All right, so here's the Libertarian Party of California Judicial Committee. This is 2019. All right, so they've heard 3 cases in 3 years. May 2019, that's the one I was involved in. I didn't know they had one in August. Appeal relating to motion to suspend membership. That they're allowed to expel members there. We're not allowed to do that in Colorado nor nationally. And then appeal relating to elections at 2021 convention. They did overturn some elections. But here's the one that I was involved in. Okay, so I expect an article like this will be made about my case. Joe Dean, I think, who's on the historical committee, was the chair of that judicial committee, and he did an excellent job. Look, I don't know if this website still exists, but he actually made a website for members. Let's see if that's still around. It is. So look what he did. Like, he had all the submissions to the committee, related documents and the ruling and the written report. So I thought this was super cool that he did this. You can see it's on his own personal thing because he has Den Base. His last name's Dean Base. Yeah, Cowboy, I talked about that earlier, that they're trying to suspend Rothbard. I think that's pretty shitty. Go back to the... You heard me. That's what I was talking about. You were here at the beginning. Anyway, that's who I was talking about, Rothbard. Okay. So, here, as you notice, I'm not listed, but I did... Oh, right here. It became a fact on record because somebody thought they were clever, like I was hiding it, that Karen Ann Harlos assisted in authoring the appeal brief while not joining as a party to the appeal. And there's the respondents. Alicia, who was the parliamentarian for the convention, Chuck Ham, who was a member of the platform committee, and Mimi, who's the chair of the LPC. Okay. And here, now that I'm looking at this, thank you so much for the super chat, Stephen. I wrote this appeal. I probably am going to be super embarrassed by it now because I didn't really know what I was doing. But let's take a look. Oh, I like that title. It's pretty. JJ, look how pretty I made this appeal. So this is the type of thing. There's no set format. So I went through the background, the recordings, and then specific violations involving fundamental member rights, and just went through the entire argument. Point of inquiry, incorrectly answered, voting rights violation, participation by parliamentarian, improper motion to adjourn, quorum issues. Then I went into more where I think I was frustrating JJ in my own appeal, where I strayed more from facts into the culture and ideology of the party. I make no apology for that. I think it's pretty important. So I went in and alleged an ideological agenda. Did I slander these people? No, I had my suspicions as to their agenda. Actually, one platform committee explicitly said their agenda. Okay, lack of transparency / ambush. Like, come on. Anyone who didn't know I wrote this, really? Anyone would know I'd write this. Power imbalance, which I'm sure JJ would disagree with me, but I do think this is important. Here's what I said. There is a general flaw party-wide in assuming that every delegate is knowledgeable in RONR and the party bylaws, which is never the case. Placing the board and committees in a superior position of power, every attempt should be made by same to inform the delegates of their rights to reach a just result. I still absolutely believe that. Anyway, and then I go into party bylaws require a platform and the relief. Okay. Let's see, and then all the footnotes. All right, now there was a response, and then I submitted a comment. What was my fucking comment? I don't remember that. And then more comments. I couldn't shut up. What was my comment? I think I said, oh, let's read this. Oh my God. I was a sarcastic bitch even back then. I was asked to sign on to the brief. I declined. Okay. Apparently, the appellees heartily desire my official presence, but apart from this communication and attending the hearing, I decline. Okay. Appellees have turned a platform dispute into a fascinating I Spy episode of Who Killed Mr. Body in the Library, and have concluded that I did by examining document metadata in my unusual style of prose. I could have saved everyone a lot of high drama by being asked. I wrote the document. Appellees seem to think that this is some feat of forensic sleuthing that would never have occurred to some wily ghost author who wished to remain unknown. Oh my God, I was a sarcastic bitch, wasn't I? Oh my God. Oh. As far as transparency, because they said I wasn't transparent that I wrote it, since my Facebook page is of interest, I wrote multiple times that I was assisting in a brief. I said at the convention that if anyone was planning on an appeal, I'd be willing to assist. This was no secret to be uncovered by digital detectives. But let's assume it was a secret. If it weren't for those Snoopy kids and that damn dog, I would have gotten away with it too. No, in a quasi-legal legal setting, it is not unusual at all for documents to be authored by unidentified assistants as long as they are signed off on by the filers or attesters, and it is outside any proper scope of discovery to make an issue out of the identity of such persons absent fraud. Look at this. I do not appreciate the attempt by the appellees to turn me into some kind of shadowy figure lurking in the background. I don't lurk, and my hair makes it impossible for me to hide. Come on. I should have written this in Comic Sans too. Oh my God. All right. I trust this solves the who wrote it mystery. Oh my God. Come on. You guys got to admit this was funny. What was my further comments? I think I just did a response. I commend the appellee's well-written response. It was really well-written, by the way. Alicia Matson kicked ass. Yep. And I said, I am one of a contingent of people who believes that RO&R expertise has been used to gain unfair advantage throughout this party writ large. And I say this as one with more than average proficiency. I said, I will always maintain that the spirit of equity prevails. I know Roberts doesn't say that. I do. I'm a heretic. That's why I've always said I'm a Roberts heretic. I will always side on the side of equity, or we have become just as ridiculous as the state. And it's funny. Isn't this funny? It is the current LNC. I don't know if they really believe it or not. Who maintains that our bylaws don't require a trial. They do. And rejected my argument that the bylaws certainly don't prohibit one and that the spirit of equity demands one. I have always said this. This has always been my position. Okay, convention rules, consideration by seriation, and okay. And then someone's comment. Oh, here was a big thing. And JJ, I would love your comments on this. I hope I remember this correctly. There was a voice vote, I think. Or it was a standing vote. But the chair was challenged. No, there was a counted standing vote. But the room was chaotic and they didn't practice good room hygiene. I don't mean that the room was dirty. What I mean is that they didn't separate delegates from non-delegates very well. And with a standing counted vote, there were people standing in the room that weren't delegates. They were milling around at the back. It was super confusing. So after the counted vote and it was declared that the deletion passed, someone challenged it saying, you counted people in the back. When the challenge was made, a delegate said to the chair, oh, they're claiming you count, or you don't know how to count, or you counted wrong, or whatever. It was kind of a sarcastic comment. And then that same delegate told people when they were going to count again, after the chair instructed everyone in the back of the room to find a seat, this delegate instructed people you weren't allowed to change your vote, that anyone who stood before had to stand again. And that is not correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, JJ. Because I did quote, I believe, Roberts on it, because it said one of the reasons to go from one vote, like I'm getting like kind of confused here, but there was one of the things that said, actually one of the, you can challenge a vote from, if you, actually, you know, I'm going to word this different. What's not, so you, I'll tell, let me get you the brief and I'll show you what I meant. The JC agreed with me though, by the way, but let me, because there's a quote in Roberts that says, you can ask for a different kind of vote if you think a representative sample didn't vote. It was almost like a shaming technique. I know Alicia disagreed with me, but the JC agreed with me. Let me find it. Count. Okay, here it was. Voting on the mass Planck deletion, blah, 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 was a rising vote with the chair informally counting. Okay. Yeah, okay, so you're saying I'm correct and it was Aaron Starr was incorrect. But this was even an informal accounting vote, and the vote was 36-32. A formal counted vote division was then demanded, and the chair informed the delegates that only the delegates that voted previously could participate and that everyone must vote the same way they previously voted. That is not correct. And Alicia was the parliamentarian, and she said the chair was correct. And here's what I had said. This is incorrect. Division of the assembly is dealt with blah, blah, blah. And I said, first, when division was called for, the intention of the member doing so was improperly cast by another member as saying he thinks you counted wrong, though the member said no such thing. And that is not the only reason for division, particularly in a close vote. For example, a chair may call for a rising vote sua sponte after a show of hands or voice vote if she feels the vote is unrepresentative, i.e. members held back from voting or might not have properly considered their vote. The fact that a member can change their vote is presumed throughout the section, such as in this sentence, the rising vote may be more effective and causing a maximum number of members to vote. So that was another thing. Anyway, so that kind of gives you an idea of the sorts of things that get brought up in an appeal. And this is an appeal I participated in. So I don't know if that raises any other questions in anyone else's mind. Again, I'm not going to go into the specific things on my particular appeal. You guys know two of them because I've been talking about them a lot, which is the due process and NAP thing, but I'm not going to go into the rest of it. But any of you can request a copy of the petition from the Judicial Committee chair. Go back to my screen here. Alrighty, I think we might be done. I'm just waiting to see if there's questions. I'm going to chill and drink some Smirnoff Ice here. Alrighty. Any questions, anyone? I think, oh, you want to know what? My God. These headphones, because look how thick, like, these are big ass, like, frames, and they press right on the frames behind my ear, and it kills me. And I don't need these headphones right now because I'm not listening to anything that will feedback. Whew. I was killing my ears. And yes, I did bedazzle these glasses. Funny story while I'm waiting to see if there's any questions. I bought all these gems and like glue, and I bedazzled fucking everything. I almost bedazzled my entire desk. It was insane. I have these whole boxes that are bedazzled. And this was one of the things that I bedazzled. Cowboy, JJ, you had half a glass of champagne. Are you a teetotaler normally? You don't drink? I didn't know that. When I visit Philadelphia, because I believe I am going to be at that convention. God, this hurts the back of my ears right now. We're just going to have to go out and get roaring drunk. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. Otto, don't ask, don't tell. And a Cowboy, how concerned are you that the LNC will do secret deliberations on alternative forms of communication to keep Josh out of the loop? The LNC always has backroom conversations between members, not the whole body. So I'm sure they are doing that. They had all kinds of secret deliberations to whip votes for my suspension motion and to craft that motion. There's nothing unethical about that per se. I don't do it. Rarely. I don't want to say never. I rarely, there was sometimes during StarWorks reign that I did. I rarely do that. A lot of people consider that a bug. I don't go and whip boats behind the scene. I tend to feel that people should listen to the arguments at the meeting and make their mind up then. I don't do that sort of thing. Be that good or bad. I am sure. In response, well, yeah, I'm sure they are. They kept Josh out of the loop when they were writing the suspension. They kept me, obviously, out of the loop when they were writing the suspension. They never preclude someone from a meeting. We're talking between meetings, informal phone calls, emails, that sort of thing. You know? So, yeah, Josh had no idea this motion was coming, and neither did I. Apparently got leaked out a little bit because Daniel Hayes knew it was coming. But, yeah, no, they have little behind-the-scenes things all the time. In fact, when I was on the LNC, there was an informal LNC Facebook chat that was just supposed to be for chit-chat, and then it started getting into business, and I left it in protest. But, again, that's politics, I suppose, that you create your alliances. So I am sure they are doing that. I asked both Josh and Ken to make sure they get those emails from Google. I doubt the LNC will do that. They got 6 months from the date they were deleted. They should at least send out a spoliation letter. But a spoliation letter, if you gotta use these stuff from my law thing. Spoliation of evidence is destruction of evidence. Lawyers got to call everything way too fancy. And a anti-spoliation letter would be something you send to a party, say that you have stuff that could reasonably be the subject of a future lawsuit. This puts you on notice not to destroy it. We could at least do that to keep it longer than 6 months with Google, but I doubt they will. Also, Ken acknowledged my complaint that the ethics violations that I alleged, since they involved nearly the entire LNC in one way or another, should not be investigated by the LNC, because that's kind of like the police investigating themselves and determining they did nothing wrong. That a committee should be appointed to investigate these ethics complaints. Ken was very favorable to that, so we shall see. The LNC selecting the committee is another problem, but at least there's a little layer there. Do I think they're going to find they did anything wrong? No. But they did. I know it for a fact. I just think the people who acted unethically... Susan, be careful here. You're probably going to think I'm committing aggression. Just thumbs down the video and go away. If people... I'm going to do an if. Allegedly, right? To cover my ass. If people did what I think they did... people who would do things like that would have no compunction about lying that they did things like that to an investigator. I know what happened. I'll leave that to the delegates. All right, guys, unless you have any other questions, I've got minutes to do. Not LNC minutes. I got Colorado minutes to do. I have a Colorado board meeting tomorrow. We had our messaging meeting today. Yes, those of you who are patrons, we have our private Discord set up. Any level patron gets to be in the private Discord. If I have any friends in which $1 a month patron level is a barrier, let me know, because I want my friends in this Discord server, and I don't want there to be a paywall that's a barrier to anybody. But if you can afford at least $1 a month to become a patron, you automatically get access. I am no longer going to be discussing some of the very personal things that I have discussed on my Facebook wall before, because I now have trouble keeping bad actors out who weaponize personal things that I say, such as if I'm having an anxiety attack or things like that. So those kinds of more personal things are going to be discussed with a much closer circle of friends in my private Discord server for patrons of the show. Obviously, a bad actor can also be a patron, but it's a smaller group to weed out people who might be violating confidences. So if you have not and you are a patron, the link is in a patron-only post on Patreon. Please go to the private Discord server. There's an interesting discussion going on right there where I'm asking you for some suggestions for some Colorado messaging. And I might discuss a little bit more of my petition there that I'm not going to be discussing publicly, but I'm still not going to get into great detail with it. But yes, and again, if anyone $1 a month is who and I know you're a friend of mine, is an obstacle, talk to me privately, okay? And I'll work it out, but I do have to know you for that. All right, everyone. I did update my patrons, so that's a good thing. And that will be it for this evening. I hope this was educational. This is the type of video I prefer doing. I actually do not prefer the drama videos because they just get into an endless feedback loop where somebody's responding, then you got to respond. I like doing education. That's always been my passion in the party. Speaking of education, the delegate education videos I'm doing for LPTV are on hold. I will continue to do them no matter what happens with my appeal. I already confirmed that with Eric Radsup. They're on hold pending my appeal because it's awkward. I don't know how to refer to myself in these videos, and I don't know what email address to give people to contact me. And I don't want to go back and forth. I don't want to go for this episode, contact me at my personal email, and if I get reinstated, then go back to secretary. I want to know my status before we continue. And I'm going to continue either way. Okay? So they are on hold for a month. If for some reason the LNC overrules Eric letting me continue to do them, I will continue to do them on this channel. I would prefer to do them on LPTV as a gift to the party, but we shall see. Right now, I plan on that. And I do rebroadcast them on this channel after they're stale on LPTV. I want LPTV to get the initial views, and they are not monetized on this channel, even though it is my original content. Okay, everyone, I hope you have an awesome night, and I will see you possibly tomorrow. I have a board meeting, but I think I'll do an episode during the day. Bye-bye.
Gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business.